thinking outside the box, smashing through the glass ceilings. Hi everybody, good to see a nice sprinkling and group of people, bright, sparkly, happy people in front of me here. How are you all? Are you good?
Yeah, very well.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
Fantastic. Well, this is going to be something of an experiment. We're midway through the series on the Property Voice podcast, all about going full-time in property. And what I thought I'd do with this episode is a bit of a panel discussion from, I'm kind of loosely calling you second steppers. Maybe that's not, I'm trying to use a property reference, second steppers. So not quite at the stage yet where you can put your feet up and relax with the cocktails on the beach, which I kind of did double check before we came on air. I don't think anyone's quite in that category yet, are they?
No, not quite.
Not yet.
But equally, you're not complete new beginners. You're already working either directly in property or in a field connected to property with the intention of probably generating a substantial part of your income or indeed your wealth through property. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be correct.
So we're in the right place then. Okay, with the right people. So that's the first thing to do. So what I thought we'd do is perhaps just go around the table. This is always a bit difficult because who knows when to speak, but just go around the table, just do a quick introduction, who you are, where you come from, what sort of, just where you're at right now with property would be really helpful, just to warm us all up so that we know when we start asking questions, that's where that person comes from. I know what that means now. So anybody want to go first? I haven't got a running order. Let's see how this works.
Yeah, I'll go first, if you like.
Go for it, Carl.
So I'm Sven, been in property for about 8 years or so now. Started off with my business partner, just doing small flips, did a couple of flats and then into bungalows. Did about maybe 8 bungalows, sort of 2-bed bungalows, just small things really. Started overlapping them, then went into conversions. Did a few conversions sort of into flats and now going on to new builds. Just started on the first one.
Fantastic. I don't know if you did it by choice or not, Sven, but I think your video camera was switched off there, just to let you know.
Was it? Okay.
But we didn't see you as you were talking, but maybe if you can get it working, you just give us a quick wave. It's not working yet, by the way.
Okay, I'll look at that.
No problem. I'll let you go. So thanks, Sven. So basically, and how long did you say you've been involved?
It's been about 8 years with my business partner. I did one flat before that. And then we started the businesses in 2013. So it's 7 years.
About 7 years then. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
So migrated up and doing some conversions and developments more recently.
Yeah, just a small pair of semis we've just started.
And just before we move on from you, Sven, is there anything else that you do, perhaps on other days of the week, maybe?
Yeah, so just I was doing before this year, I was sort of doing property full time, but more like a builder. So I was actually hands on and then doing the project management. But as things have slowed down for various reasons, one being my business partner wants to sort of come out of the business. I've now actually had to go back on the building site for other people from Monday to Thursday. So doing architectural metalwork, steel erecting from Monday to Thursday, and then focusing on property on a Friday, which definitely keeps me busy.
Sure it does. Well, maybe come back to that, and how the journey's changed a bit. But thanks, Sven, for sharing. Appreciate that. So now that we've got the first one out of the way and we know what to expect, who's happy to go second?
I'll go second. Hello, everyone. My name's Monica. I've been in property probably about 15 years, dabbling in it, trading up for my own properties, keeping them, and then transferring those ones over to single lets, and then, moving them over to HMOs. So my husband and I work quite closely together. He does the sort of the building work, site management work, and I kind of help with project management here and there. So it's something that we are particularly hands-on with, and it's something we really need to step back from for numerous reasons. We're not getting any younger. and we really want to spend our lives making some kind of a difference, really, not just making money, which is very, very important, no doubt. But I don't know whether it's you come to that stage in life when you realize life is more than just the money. It's about the impact. It's about, helping other people to, I don't know, achieve their own dreams and helping others along the way, making a difference. And that's been a powerful kind of driver for both my husband and I to look at what we're doing, how we're doing it, and seek to change that, to be far more passive in our focus. And that in itself has been a challenge, but it's been hugely revealing. I could go on. I've been part of Richard's apprenticeship program, which has been quite revealing. Let's put it that way, and rewarding, may I add. And here I am.
Thank you, Monica. I mean, I'd have to dive into a couple of things. So, you basically you're self-managing landlord, aren't you?
Yeah, very much so.
And also the project management, and your husband doing some of the actual construction work on some of the refurbs and stuff you've been doing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
very much in the business then, I guess.
101. 101. I don't think we could be any more in the business than we are. So it's something that it's a business that we love. We do enjoy what we do, but they're not just that there has to be a better way of doing it. There is. Pursuing that, and also, just like I said before, seeing how we can make that difference really in life. Yeah.
I want to just pause a little bit with you in particular on this make a difference thing. I don't know if there's anything you want to share at this point. Don't worry if you don't. But do you want to give us a clue what that might look like?
Well, to say I haven't thought about this, it's something that plays on my mind greatly, and ever more so now. But I just think that individuals, especially young people, they have so much going for them, and it's about how do we facilitate that opportunity for them to grow and make an impact. And I think that if an individual has a secure base, a secure home, and has opportunities in their lives to build their skills and people to speak into their lives, they can make a massive impact, not just in their own personal lives, but in their community. So I'm looking at a housing and sort of educational fund whereby individuals are able to have homes that they help construct, and they leverage the knowledge and expertise that they have gained during that process to go on and improve their lives. So there's a lot there.
Just a small goal then, really. Yeah. No, it's brilliant. We probably get into it later about perhaps how things change along the way. You mentioned you've been involved for 15 years. We'll maybe come back to this for everyone, but you've already given us an insight there that things can change along the way. And you can still take on big goals and visions, even though you've been involved for a while. So
absolutely.
So we'll probably dive a bit deeper, but I'm gonna just say, Carl, I saw you put your hand up there, and you tried to get in before Sven started to talk. So should we get you in? Let's get you in.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes, I'm Carl Gilbert. I live in Basingstoke. Some of your audience might remember I was on your podcast, having done your apprenticeship. So I've been the bulk of my professional career was working in IT as a project manager. That was for about 15 years or so. I've been involved in property for about 10 years, working on smaller projects, gradually building up a portfolio. Fairly passive in certain aspects. So in the last few years, I've been more active in getting more involved and immersing myself in property. knowing that I've kind of tested the water and it's something that I've always wanted to be more involved with. So in early 2019, my hand was forced slightly with some life-changing events whereby I had an opportunity to go full-time in property, which I took. Then shortly afterwards did your apprenticeship. So most of last year was training and strategizing, and kind of trying to formulate a path to follow, which was really the bulk of the apprenticeship. So that was very, very useful. And then coming into this year, really putting in my strategy into action, which is commercial conversions, primarily office to residential. So a solid year so far, working to find opportunities and building my network. It's what's brought me to here now.
Is what brought you to here now? Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, it's interesting. You were careful with how you explain that. I'm not going to push you, but sometimes we get pushed into a certain direction, let's say, because of life events or a boss, who perhaps wants to take control. I know that's what happened with you here particularly, but
Yeah.
But and sometimes, would you say it was a necessary push? I don't know.
It was, because it was more of a catalyst. So I had plans to go full-time in property, and I had already decided to join your apprenticeship with that view in mind, with that goal in mind. So I think I was fortunate in that I had the means to give myself a runway to put my plans into place and bring about change. So it was I wouldn't choose to go through that again, but it was make the most of the opportunities and make the most of bad situations.
Yeah, I think that's a recurring theme with a lot of people who are either in full-time in property or aspiring to be, is kind of making the most of the opportunities, or perhaps the reverse is to then what's the phrase? Come on, I bet Anthony's got a phrase for me. Don't know why I'm picking on you, Anthony, for that comment, but I'm probably just looking at it as a segue to bring you into the conversation as well.
Well, sorry, you want my intro then, or
you can skip my question, my leading question. Just your intro.
Cool. Well, Anthony Boyce is my name. I've been property investing for probably about 4.5 years, just coming up to 5 maybe. I've been an architectural technologist or designer for probably 18 years, sort of during obviously the investing time as well. So I guess I've kind of I've been working at kind of doing what I'm doing now for myself and property investors, and just never really thought about getting involved myself. And it was only when I kind of read Rich Dad Poor Dad that I kind of sort of took a look at myself and decided to pull my finger out and get going. From there, got buy-to-lets, HMOs, serviced accommodation. I've started the property thing with, as Richard said, Paul Million, who was on here the other day. And yeah, just at that point now where things are finally starting to, the projects are getting bigger, a bit more juice on them. So yeah, commercial conversions, doing a little bit of new build as well. Yeah, so just bigger, more attractive returns really. So yeah, fingers crossed next year I will be on the beach with the mojito or whatever.
It's always there. Don't you have a beach up in Darlington? I'm pretty sure you do, don't you?
Do I have a what, sorry?
You're a beach up in Darlington?
A beach, well, only when they put one in the marketplace, but that's just, I think that's just sand from the local river or the Skern or something like that, I don't know.
No worries. Just to clarify as well, are you still doing the architectural technician stuff alongside property investing?
I am, yeah. So I've kind of, I did want to kind of make a jump from the architectural stuff into just full-time property, but I've gone sort of full-time in my own firm March, just before Corona hit. So yeah, I'm full-time property, but I have to do a hell of a lot more work with the architectural side than I was initially planning to do anyway. So yeah, bit of everything still.
It's interesting. We've already heard a couple of people saying they're doing more than one thing. They're, working in property, working on a business separate to that, or they've got a runway, as Carl referred to. So, it's not just make that giant leap and just shit or bust. It's like perhaps there's more of a migration path sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, initially when I was employed, I'd kind of done that scaling back. So I'd gone from a 5-day week to a 4-day week down to a 3-day week. And then when I've gone full time on my own business, it's gone up to a 7-day week again. So it was kind of working out as you read in books, you scale as you develop a bit more portfolio income. But yeah, it's gone full circle and I'm just flat out now. So wow. Yeah, I maybe shouldn't have been on this podcast actually. I'm not a good advert at the minute.
No, I think you are. I mean, we're trying to get authentic, real case studies. I think you're definitely one of them, a real authentic case study. So yeah, thanks for sharing. And I think there's a saying, isn't there, that someone who wants to run their own business will work 80 hours a week for themselves to avoid working 40 hours a week for someone else.
Yeah. No, that is very true, isn't it? Yeah.
Cool. We'll come back to that story, I'm sure. You mentioned one book already, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think a lot of people, some nods there. People read that book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many years ago now. But yeah.
Daniel, you said yeah. So let's get you into the conversation. Let's hear a bit about yourself.
Right. Well, I'm Daniel, based in Bolton, Greater Manchester. I actually got into property accidentally. I've put a deposit down on a half-built house with no roof on. And I spoke to a developer bloke who I know, and I said, "We just have a look at it for me." I didn't know what I was doing. I had spare time because I had a company running that I owned. I didn't really need to do much. I was just sort of overseeing it. So I thought I'll have a do at this house. I'm a bricklayer by trade, but I've not been into it for quite a while. And it turned out the cavities had been exposed for a while, so they're a big red flag. So I ended up just throwing the towel in. I just left the deposit, and I asked the guy. I thought, I could have come unstuck big time there. So I said, "Have you got anything ongoing at the minute?" And he had a site in Bolton, very nice site. Some bespoke houses, more or less, 4,000 to 5,000 square feet, underground parking, conservation area, gated development. Really nice thing. So I asked if I could just come and mimic his site manager for a while, just free of charge, really, just to learn. His site manager ended up leaving, so I became his site manager. After about, a few years, I come out of that deal, and now I've gone on to something smaller because it was very difficult, that. Now, in the middle of commercial conversions, just commercial to residential. A few sidelines as well. Is a friend of mine asked me to project manage a couple of apartments for him, so I'll do that. And also looking at creating a fund at the minute to buy below market value properties wholesale, and then selling them retail. Either to sources, back on auction, develop them ourselves, and do whichever with that. So that's what I'm on with at the minute. Plenty.
Well, I was just about to say that there's quite a lot of different strands to what you've just talked about, and a lot of that has emerged quite recently as well, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Since being on the apprenticeship program, really, it's opened my eyes into what you can do. I never knew it was possible to do the things that are possible. I come from a small town, and if someone said you can earn £1 million quite easily, I thought they were just talking nonsense, or they were liars, But I think if you get a few good, solid people around you, you trust, I'm not saying it'll be easy, but it's definitely doable. We ain't running around like an absolute lunatic working 400 hours a week. These things are possible.
Yeah, some really interesting things you just said in that share. I mean, the whole thing about what's possible and having good people around you for a start. But the other thing is, you said that you were, I don't know if you said, but I think you've taken the approach, and you definitely said with the development project, that first one, that luxury development, that you became the site manager. I mean, you were effectively managing that site for quite some time, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, about 2.5 years it were, yeah, and it were very, very difficult, because when you're bricklaying, you know about bricklaying and about your job, but when you've got underground basements leaking, tanking systems, dealing with, there were £2 million price tag these up in the north, so you can imagine the neighbours weren't just your average neighbours, so they were. They'd write essays to the council about the smallest things. Plus it were in a conservation area, so it was just a very delicate site. It was basically jumping in at the deep end in a big way, not just in the deep end, in the sea.
In the big wide ocean.
Yeah, with a few sharks kicking about as well.
And even now, I believe that you're project managing, and probably, I don't know if you're still on the tools a little bit with one of the projects at least that you're running now.
Yeah. Well, with the lockdown, it were hard work to get trade, so I thought, why not? You can't stand still, really.
Mm.
Yeah.
So.
Brilliant. Okay.
Well, I could have done, but I wouldn't have got anywhere.
Yeah,
economy.
Yeah, I know. We may come on to it later, but I know that you're, you don't like to hang about, let's say that, and you do like to plan your time and your day and be very, very active.
Yeah, I have got a very strict routine, but I function best doing that. I'm up at 10 to 5 every morning. I do meditate, go for a run, throw some sprints in there, learn something new. So that's before 6 o'clock or half 6 at the latest. Listen to a book on the way to work, do the working day. So, the normal working day that a normal person will do. Come home, meditate again, try and learn something new, doss about with the kids, do your family life, and then, read before going to bed. Just try and consume as much knowledge as I can.
Yeah. Anybody else have that sort of, approach, like a routinized approach, including both work or business activities, family and personal development?
I've kidded myself I should start it, but
you should start it, should you?
Well, I've started reading books and things like that who say about the routine, and I can see a massive benefit in it. But yeah, I get maybe a couple of weeks in and it disappears. So yeah, it's something I'd like to get into my life, but it's just so up and down at the minute. It's difficult to do.
It's growing organically. If you'd have told me 10 years ago you'd be reading books, I'd tell you were talking nonsense.
Yeah.
I think I got a level 2 in my GCSEs for reading because I hated it with a passion. But now I love it because I know what you can achieve through through the learning.
I think it's the time you get up in the morning that's the worry.
Well,
Well, I would get up at 5, but that 10 to 5, you brush my teeth and get my running gear on, so that gives me 10 minutes. I'm like a Swiss watch.
Brilliant. So what about, I think, Carl and Monica, you were about to speak. I can't actually see Sven. I don't know if your camera is working.
It's on again, sorry.
It's okay.
Internet's been a bit dodgy.
Who else wants to add to this part of the conversation about habits, routines and development?
I was going to say that routine's been one of the biggest challenges I've faced, certainly during the lockdown, and working on this full time, you lose the structure of kind of going to work, and so having a routine in the mornings has really helped, and using my calendar a lot. So I like to fill up the calendar. So I've got a weekly planner, a weekly schedule that lays out my week on an ideal basis, and then each day or each night before I'd fill in my calendar as per my schedule or whatever's coming up. That helps.
Yeah.
About personal.
No, I was just going to say that, I suppose at the end of the day, you get to know yourself, don't you, when you're at your peak, when you're not so productive. And I have to go with Daniel here. I'm a 4, 5 o'clock in the morning kind of individual. Meditation for me is kind of prayer, and then kind of listening to anything that's soothing. I love podcasts. I consume podcasts, things like and audio books. But yeah, I think it's about, for me personally, it's about being we're very conscious of things that are happening around us. But I think when we're attentive, we're feeding our subconscious as well, and that's like our superpower, isn't it? It kind of gives us that boost. We don't see it all the time or feel it, but it's there helping us along the way. So I think for me personally, having a routine, being mindful about what I allow to kind of flow between my ears is extraordinarily powerful. Because otherwise I'm prone to the drift, and which can be really, it can be a rapid slide. So having structure, just knowing when you're at your best, and doing your high level activities first and being persistent about that is something that has been very helpful. I think, was it Brian Tracy? Did Brian Tracy eat that frog or whatever?
Yeah.
It's hard, but I think it's the rewards are there. Yes, when one contends for this. That's my experience, anyway.
Brilliant. There's something of a pattern, a theme emerging. And Sven, I wanted to bring you in. I don't know if you're still there. I think you probably are.
Yeah, I'm still here, still listening.
So, what about the idea on habits and personal development? Got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree that everyone has their own sort of the best time of day for them. Mine's the morning as well. Sometimes I have to leave for work at 5 though, so I don't know, getting up. Daniel said 10 to 5, so that's early enough for me, I think, to go to work. But I think there's a good book, Atomic Habits, James Clear, and that's I took quite a lot from that. And just about once you start habits, it's actually easier then to sort of connect them up to other habits, and small habits then turn into large habits, and that's when you sort of compound effect, and that's when you really start to get things done.
Wow.
And another sort of thing I took from, I think it was Tim Ferriss, probably the 4-hour work week, where he says to make sure you know what's important for that day, and do that first before anything else. So that stops procrastination.
Yeah.
And once you've done the most important things, the sort of things you need to do, then the rest of the day is not so important.
Very interesting. As I say, a bit of a pattern there. I think one of my favourite quotations comes from a guy, I may have said it before, sorry if I'm repeating myself, it's Charlie Tremendous Jones, and he said we'll be the same person as we are in 5 years' time, but for the books that we read and the people that we meet, all the way around, but words to that effect. And of course, I think books can mean any kind of learning resource, and the people that we meet is kind of networks. So it's funny actually coming back maybe to Anthony, because he's got a dirty great big sign behind him. Let's have a look at what it says, Anthony, first of all. Yeah. So what is the property thing, first of all?
Well, it's a property network, property and business networking event that we set up in the northeast of England in Darlington. It was mainly I'd seen, I'd been to the events like the PPNs and the PINs and that kind of thing in the area, really enjoyed them, learned a lot of valuable knowledge, met a lot of new contacts, very useful, but they all shut down. So we kind of didn't have our little boys club or anywhere to go and crash at, so we decided to put our own on, and it's worked brilliant, to be honest, so far, other than lockdown kind of putting the skids on it at the minute. So yeah, just looking forward to starting that up again, really. So the people, just having a chat with people like yourselves, the stuff that you find out, little ideas and new strategies and just little things like that can lead to great opportunities. So yeah, I'm a big fan of networking in a face-to-face environment. I'm still a bit weird with the old Zoom thing. It's a bit, I don't know, just the time delay and stuff. But yeah, looking forward to the people interaction again.
We might all have to get used to the Zoom thing, but let's see. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you've got Atomic Habits on your reading list now, if you didn't have it before.
I'm sure I've downloaded it already. Yeah.
So we've talked to, and that's a segue into. So I brought you in specifically because you're running a networking group. And a couple of people have touched on having people around you. Let's just dive into that a little bit more. So there's kind of networking, and then there's support, let's say, or professional support and teams around us. What are your thoughts on that? What have you learned as you've gone so far down the track? And anyone can dive in if they've got something to say on that part of it.
I've got something to say on this one. I recently joined the mastermind group, and I've sat back and I've seen the level of activity, and I must say I was have been taken aback.
In a good way or a bad way?
in a good way, but there could have been two outcomes from that. There could have been total overwhelm. Oh my goodness, what have I been doing? I really need to sit up here. How am I gonna rise to what's been going on here? Or, as I have come to now embrace, Monica, you need to tie up your shoelaces and you need to strap yourself up and raise your game. But that's been as a direct result of kind of putting myself out into the unknown for me. So, and that's sort of kind of being around others who have interest in property, and not just property, but it covers the whole sphere of life, really. And that's been kind of, I mean, it's been more than what I thought it would be, in the sense that I thought it was much going to be property focused, but because of the diverse nature of this particular mastermind group, it's challenging on many fronts, and it's a good thing, because I strongly believe it's going to hold me up in several areas of my life, not just professionally, but also personally. So, in answer to Richard's question, surrounding yourselves with others is like-minded individuals is very powerful. There's that saying, isn't there, that when you walk beside somebody, your speed adjusts to their speed. Do you see what I mean? And that's what I'm hoping is going to happen here, that I'm going to speed up a bit. So yeah, that's me.
That's a really good contribution. Thanks, Monica. Anybody else on this theme? Don't have to, but about working.
Well, I thought you said something really important there, and it kind of goes back to the networking as well. I mean, I'm a big believer that, you surround yourself with the right people and good things happen to you. And I guess that's kind of what's happened to me, just from going networking and surrounding yourself with others that you're looking up to. I mean, to say his name again, Paul Million, he's got quite a nice portfolio. Whereas when I started, networking, I probably had one or two properties, but just by being around those sort of people, you kind of, your mindset lifts to that kind of level as well. And then just all of a sudden, things start happening. So yeah, big believer in surrounding yourself with the right people on that one as well. So yeah, whether that's a mastermind or networking or paying for mentorship from someone who's already at that level, but yeah, big benefits in that anyway.
Brilliant. I don't know if there's more there, but there's kind of two main themes there, isn't there? Because you've got, let's say, your professional team around you, or your workers. So people doing the trades, people who support you on property projects, like, professions, literally. So there's that part of it. You could even have a kind of a partner in crime, not a partner in crime, but, business partner maybe. But then there's this other bit about, personal growth and development, using your thinking, or thinking outside the box, smashing through the glass ceilings. Napoleon Hill's book, wasn't it? Think and Grow Rich. Focused quite a lot. There's been a lot of book references here. So that sounds like a book club meeting, Carl. Anyway.
It's also the accountability as well, Richard. You can tell yourself you're going to do X, Y, and Z, but you can also not do it, and you're not accountable. Whereas if you tell a group of people you're going to do X, Y, and Z, you're going to you know, you're going to be trying not to look like a clown, really. You know what I mean? That's what I found, anyway.
Well, it's easy to let yourself off, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. Cool.
One of the things I found with masterminds and mentoring is the support and guidance you can get from those more experienced, and the confirmation and reassurance on your own strategy and your own trajectory to get that feedback as to how you're doing, how you're performing, what direction you're heading in. Because certainly in my case, going into full-time, I didn't do that transition. I flipped from one to the other with the runway, as we mentioned earlier. So having the assurance that that I'm kind of going in the right direction, I've got a strategy that's going to work. I mean, obviously, I've got alternative options at different points if I need to. I can flex, pivot if I need to. But surrounding yourself with people with the experience is very beneficial.
Very good. So we've talked about the kind of the personal development and networking. Just maybe to round off this part of the conversation, and I dare say we're going to split this into 2 episodes now, just so you're aware. What about professional growth and development, or business, like more formal skills, let's say that? Anybody be doing anything in that respect to better themselves or their business more formally?
Okay. no, nothing.
Well, Rich, my other half, she set up a letting agent, so she's gone to get accredited by, I can't remember which firm it is, but alongside her, I thought I'd do the qualification myself, just for the sake of it, really. But little things that you take from those, they help you quite a bit. Things that you won't think about.
Yeah.
Just jump into it.
Yeah. Maybe not a lot of take up on that one, but I think I became an accredited landlord with what is now the NRLA. I'd recommend that, even if you plan not to manage your own properties, just to be aware of legislation. Of course, if you're going to get involved in other specialist sides of the property business, it's probably worth getting some kind of awareness. It doesn't have to be like a formal qualification, although if you were listening to the podcast this week, Damien Fogg was the guest, and he became a chartered building surveyor, and he also worked in a letting agency because he wanted to see the business from the inside out. I mean, I dare say, Anthony, you're working on the inside to some extent anyway with your architectural technician work.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, I don't know what other people do, but I mean, I absorb, like others have already said, a lot of podcasts, Audible, I read all the industry magazines and that kind of thing. So I guess I'm keeping up to date with what I need to know anyway. It just becomes second nature and you don't realize you're doing it, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I can't see you, Sven, because I know you've got issues with the internet connection. I hope you're still there.
Yeah, still there.
Good. And maybe you've got something on this part of the segment, about your background, I guess, professionally or from a trade point of view.
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the start, I work on building sites from Monday to Thursday. So I do see the residential side of it. Excuse me, sometimes what's fashionable. Also, sometimes you can see some cost-cutting ideas. Also, like how a site is run. So the practical side of when you actually get onto site, how it's all structured. Probably nosier than most on site as well, so you end up going in the office and just bothering people. But yeah, it's all, even though it's not quite property related how I want it to be, and it's a lot harder work than doing it physically harder anyway. Yeah, it definitely gives you an insight of how things are on a commercial, like a large scale commercial side.
Okay.